in the near future, as the people begin to become more aware of constitutional principles, and we're talking constitutional principles, and when you talk about constitutional rights, remember this: the Constitution does not give you rights. The Constitution is in place to secure pre-existing rights. And rights do not exist with anyone in a civilized society who's transacting business in an alien name. Meaning, if you're not in your proper person, don't talk about constitutions because it doesn't apply to you. If you make a claim of rights from a constitutional perspective, you are in error. Now, most of the time, they will not, adjudicate a case, except if it comes before the Supreme Court, and then put on the docket plaintiff in error. They'll do that with our people every day. They just won't give them that information so they can't correct themselves. But one of the keys also is that when you agree to that license, 9 times out of 10, that license has a nomen on it indicating a European family. And so since usually the person who's carrying that license is not European, they have automatically what you call a verbal deed on that person, and also creates an injunctive lien, and it doesn't necessarily have to be written. So therefore, the family name automatically goes to the state under wardship law. So if you're transacting business in an alien name, no matter how many generations you do it, it's still a fraud. It means that you can be doing this now until you're 99 and then add 10 more years, and they can actually take you to court and sue you. But they don't do that because that's the basis of the economics of how they've maintained forced servitude with these Asiatics that insist on calling themselves Negro, Blacks, and Colored, which are all brands. And so they have the brands Negro, Black, and Colored, and then they have also the further nomens of ownership, Smith, Jones, Johnson, Williams, and Goldberg, whatever they may be calling themselves this week. It automatically makes them a ward of the state. And the state automatically has jurisdiction, so therefore the courts of prize and booty automatically have jurisdiction because the person is already within the jurisdiction. So the court already has leave, which is why most of the time with our people, they just start adjudicating. They don't deal with status. They don't deal with an argument of proper venue or proper jurisdiction. They just proceed and do their nigger trials under the Negro codes or the Christian black codes of 1724. And our people keep calling it 2 standards of law, but that's the law they're using. They're using the Negro Act, and they're using the Christian black codes of 1724 adopted in all the states when they closed the Freedmen's Bureau. And so if the people are not aware of that, they don't suspect what that license is for. That license is a movement passport. So they can make sure that you couldn't buy your way out of slavery. And also they made sure that you would never handle money anymore. So after the Civil War, which was actually initiated to overthrow the Republican forms of government in order to institute slavery bureaucratically, they had to overthrow the Republican form of government. And that's the real reason of the Civil War. They will tell you that it was because they were debating about the industry and the Moors who were branded as blacks being used in the industrial North, competing with the more agricultural South, and that's why they started the war. No, they started the war because they wanted to make sure that you didn't blend in and take over, because they unseated the Asiatics that were already in government because it was a process of overthrow. So they had to burn books, reconstruct history, make you think that the Constitution came from England, when it actually comes from ancient Moorish law, and which is why that pyramid is on the dollar bill. And that's the federal side, or the superior side of this constitutional republic. So in order to bureaucratize slavery, they couldn't get rid of it, but they had to veil it. And while most scholars will talk about the Master Mason Roosevelt, when he was governor of New York, of New Amsterdam. That's New Amsterdam. You understand? New York is New Amsterdam. That he asked for the war powers, and under the war powers they suspended the Constitution and habeas corpus, and then issued the Gold Act and did the bank holiday thing to rob the gold. But actually that process started at the Civil War under Lincoln. And what they did during the Roosevelt administration is they solidified it. All right. Now, because he was still governor, they issued I think it's executive order. Was that 3940, 39 or 4037? Excuse those numbers, but I'll check my records. But anyway, that's the bank holiday, and it wasn't legitimate. So because he wasn't president, so the 9th they confirmed it in order to solidify it. Same principle. And so they weren't successful over a period of time. So up until about 1964, they had government agents out systematically giving people Federal Reserve notes, fiat currency, telling you to get your grandmom's gold watches and the gold coins, and they'll give you $1 for 2 silver quarters, and they'll give you $2 for a silver dollar, and or $1 for a 50-cent piece, and everybody got all their silver out. That's because they was getting all the real money, because that's the only lawful money, out of your hands, because they had every intention to force everyone in the family to work to survive. So whereas a father was working and he might had 13 children and a wife, and they were all home, they didn't have the best, but they ate. They didn't have everything, but the children went to school, and they had sneaks and shoes. They didn't have 50 pairs, but they had all that. Well, they needed to get the woman out the house, because the plan was to destroy the family. So the deal was, with the fiat currency, they could create, just like currency, just like you turn on electricity, turn down the volume, restrict the water, the flow of the water, and you don't see their face. All you see is each other's face, and you don't recognize it as a third-party action because you think you have money and didn't know that you had script. See, it was in, like, say, up into the late 1800s, most of the people that were held to forced servitude, the different plantations or corporations had the logistical problem of, like, say, delivering to you certain amount of goods for certain services that your company might render our company, and of course our workers or our slaves or servants were beneficiaries, that because like cattle they had to be cared for, and they couldn't let you go because you might run away. That's another reason why the license was thrown up too, and that agreement with the several states. All right. So the deal was, with the fiat currency, you do the same work, but then they would call it Job. You know, like in the Bible, Job, take everything from you, make you curse your God. That's where job come from. So they give you a job, yes, give you a job with the same expenses that they would have to deliver, say, to Smith, and would have to leave the corporation or the plantation, both the same. Very often, as William Lynch had said, you know, they'd burn, sometimes burn the farms, leave the crop in the field, because, you know, certain points of the moon, you have to pick the crop. And if you don't, it's through. So most of our people know those natural systems of agriculture and how the planets work. And so we were more in tune with nature, although over generations we lost it. So we had one up. Except for, you say, some of the younger generation where they separated them from the mothers who kept the civilization alive so they wouldn't learn the culture. And then they gave us idol gods, but they needed to have regulation. So when they used the fiat, or if they used a script, they could give you the impression that you're making progress. Same finance. And then they'd send you wouldn't run because now you think you're getting paid. No, it's serious. This is how it works. So you're under the impression that you're getting paid when you actually are not allowed to hold money. This is where the deficit comes in. That's why you keep going in debt. And more people in your family are working, but the national debt, it keeps getting bigger. It is because of the counterfeit currency. They're really labor certificates. And then the license is used to transact any business you do with those instruments so they can calculate, keep a database, and regulate how you're moving it, so they can deal with the resources. Do you understand? So the instrument is used as a database to check what you spend, where you go, what you have. And everything that you possess that's of any quality or any economic power, as far as a house or an instrument of transport, like a vehicle, a conveyance, must be registered to the state. That is used in commerce. So it really isn't yours, but it gives the impression that it's yours. That's why they'll say registered to the state of New Jersey, house registered to the state of New Jersey.